Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Sayer, and I wanted to go through with you exactly what you guys were going to be doing for your project. So we've talked a little bit about Generation Z the past couple of class periods that I've had you, and we've looked at some characteristics of your generation, some words to describe your generation. And so what you're going to be doing today is you're really going to be thinking about um, things that adults do not understand about your generation, or things that you feel like we get wrong or that we ignore. And that is going to be kind of the gist of your project information that you're both going to submit to the New York Times and you're going to be doing for your end of Unit 1 presentation project. So this will be a presentation where you're standing up in front of the class and you will be showing us an image and you will be explaining how that image represents this issue about your generation that you would like for people to know about. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what that looks like from the New York Times winners from last year. And then I'll go through the rules with you very briefly, but all of this is in this presentation that is linked in the agenda, so you can go back and look at it at any time. I'm also going to provide you a place where you can ask me questions about the project. So if there's something that I go over here, or after you've looked through all this stuff on your own, you still don't understand, that you can ask me that and I can address that with you when I get back to school, or when I see you guys next on Wednesday. Okay. So I'm going to scroll through the rules here really quickly for a second, and then I'm going to show you some images. So, and this is basically what you guys are going to be doing. Here's the first image here. This is one of the 2018 winners. And you'll see that there is a girl, she's lighting candles, and then there is an artist statement about that image where the person who took the picture talks about the picture and also talks about what it is about her generation that she thinks adults get wrong. So you can see that she says that here, that her generation's believed to have abandoned the old ways, but basically that tradition is important to this girl. And so that's something that she feels like adults get wrong. So again, here's the image, here's the artist statement about the image. You're going to do the same thing where you're going to take a picture of someone or something that represents what it is that you want people to know about your generation. So here's another one. And you can see how they have used some editing in this one because the girl stands out, but everything behind her is blurry. And here is the artist statement. So she's making a statement about mental illness and how she feels that mental illness is something that adults don't quite understand. They get it wrong. This is not something that they pay enough attention to. And so that is the idea behind her image. This one I thought was really beautiful. So you see the girl with her ballet shoes and you see the math formulas and things like that in the background. So it looks like she's in a classroom. And this girl is talking about in China how her generation's labeled with more freedom and living standards, but basically that people are tired of hearing that because they're under so much pressure in their country, because most of them were born under this one generation policy where families could only have one child. And so then they would put all this pressure on that one child. And so with all of that being said, she says that they're dancing against formulas, that they're finding ways to kind of break free from this mold that the older generation has for the younger one. I think that's really neat. I'm going to scroll through this next one here because I really like this image of these two boys. And so the person that took that picture, those are his younger brothers. And so he talks about his little brothers, Andre and Angel, and how Angel looks up to Andre. And basically, that adults get the wrong impression that teenagers don't care about anyone else but themselves, but that kids know that younger ones look up to them and try to do better for them. So this is kind of the gist of the contest and the gist of your assignment. You are going to take an image. You have to be the photographer of the image because you're submitting your work to the New York Times and you're saying that it is your work. So if you want to appear in the picture, then you have to set a self timer or something like that to where you are actually taking the image. You can't have someone take an image of you, and you cannot submit a picture that someone else has taken. So it has to be you that is the photographer, and that is up here in the rules. If we scroll back up here to the top, these are all of the rules for the contest, but it's also going to be the rules for the presentation that you're doing for my class. So here you can submit 1, 2, or 3 photographs in the same entry that depict some aspect of teenage life that you want people to know. It can be something that you feel is misunderstood, something that adults ignore, or something that just people don't know in general. And then it says here, in addition, you can include a photo in which you appear, but it has to be taken with a self timer so that you are submitting your own work to the New York Times. You can't publish someone else's work under your name. Okay. Other rules, you have to include an artist statement, and you'll be doing that for me anyway. You're going to explain to me, here's the image I took, here's a little bit about this image, and here's how this image reflects this issue about my generation that I want other people to know. Okay, so 350 words is a lot of words. You probably will not have that many. You're going to have just 2 paragraphs of 5 to 8 good sentences that explain those, and you can see how most of the images down below have about that amount of writing. Only 1 entry per student, and you cannot work in teams. You have to create something original, so it can't be something that you've already published someplace else, including in a school newspaper, which we don't have, but it couldn't be like a photo that appeared in the yearbook last year that you took or something like that. But you can have a photograph, like let's say it's something that you took this summer or whatever, that would be fine. You can click on in the agenda, there's a rubric that the New York Times is going to be using, so you can click on that if you want to. I tried to take a lot of that language off of their rubric and put it in the rubric that I'm going to be scoring you on, so they kind of overlap each other, so we're both looking for the same types of things. It can be negative, positive, or neutral. So it can be to a large group of teenagers. It can be just specific to your friend group or yourself or a team or a club or something like that. But it's just something that you've noticed about your generation. Has to be appropriate for Times audience. Can be made on any kind of camera, but just don't use filter effects. You can manipulate it and process it or edit it, but they just don't want filter effects on it. I'm not really sure why, but that's just one of their requirements for that. The prize for the New York Times is having your work published in the New York Times, which I think would be kind of cool to say that you've had it published in a professional newspaper. But if you don't care about that, it's still going to be your final grade for Unit 1 in reading. So you're going to be presenting your picture and sharing your explanation with the class as part of our communication unit. So basically, when you get up in front of the class, you are going to show your image. So that is what you will turn in. That's what's going to be displayed. And then you're just going to talk to us about it. And you're going to tell us what the image shows and a little bit about the image and how that ties into this idea of something that you want other people to know about your generation. You'll turn both your picture and your artist statement into Schoology, but you won't have a slide that you're presenting that has words on it. You're just going to show us your image, and then you can use note cards, things like that to prepare your speech that you're going to give. And it has to be at least a minute because I have to have something to judge you or to grade you on in terms of eye contact, voice volume, all of that kind of stuff. Here is the scoring guide that I'm going to be grading you on. I'll put a copy of this in Schoology and I'll give you your own copy. So I'm not going to go through everything to get with you today, but basically this is everything that you're going to be graded on, and it's going to be worth 30 points. So you've got your explanation of how your picture relates to the theme of the generation. You've explained your picture and you've explained how it relates to that theme. And you've got your 2 paragraphs written, submitted in Schoology. Here's all the voice volume, eye contact, gestures, articulation, pronunciation, all of that kind of stuff. Using your class time wisely when I give you class time to work and that your presentation appears to have been practiced. And I'm going to give you class time to practice on that stuff too. You've got your original image, conveys the topic of my generation and that your image is interesting and engaging, and then everything is turned in on time. So that's going to be your 30-point final assignment for reading. What you're going to do today is you are going to do some brainstorming. So in Schoology, you'll see this assignment pop up over on the right-hand side when you go into your reading class. And you're going to brainstorm today a list of stereotypes or misconceptions about teenagers that you might like to address. So this is something that you feel like you want to tackle in your project. This is something that you're going to want to take a picture of and you're going to want to explain to the rest of us. So in the agenda, the full link that I just went through and showed you is there. And then you can also click here to go to the New York Times website that has all of the winners, all 36 of them from last year, if you want to look through some more pictures. Then you're going to brainstorm some ideas for your pictures that you can take for your project. So here's my list of stereotypes, like, that teenagers are lazy and they're not hard workers or whatever. And you're going to have a list of those kinds of things. And then here you're going to be thinking of what kinds of pictures can I take to represent this idea that I want to get across to other people. So you should have more than one idea in both of these spaces. Even if you think you've narrowed down your project idea, I still want you to have kind of a list of things for you to pick from. And then the final thing that you're going to do is you're going to go into your binder in your reading section, and you should have your goal setting page from Unit 1 in there. We haven't revisited this yet, but I want you to at this time. So here is the document. This is what it looks like. And you all set a goal for yourself. You either set, it was one of these first 4 goals, okay? The rule for discussion does not apply to this project. That was our Socratic seminar. So many of you set a goal for this, which is fine. You're going to pick a different one that you want to focus on for this project. So it's either going to be thinking about, how to engage people in your presentation by using a really good picture, and then delivering your presentation appropriately. And then you're going to, or you can look at eye contact and gestures. Or you can look at speaking audibly and to the point, using proper volume, articulation, and pronunciation. So those are the 3 things that I want you to focus on. You're going to tell me which one for this project you're going to be focused on. Now, maybe that's the same one that you set at the beginning of the unit. If you said eye contact, you can still work on eye contact for this one, which would be great. The only one that you would need to change is if you said that for Unit 1, you were going to focus on discussion, because we're not doing a discussion this time. So you might just need to pick another one of those 3 learning goals that you are going to focus on for this particular project, okay? And so you're just going to tell me which one. So eye contact, voice volume, engaging presentation, or gestures, things like that, whatever it is that you're going to focus on. Okay, so this is going to be due on Wednesday for you guys. If you work really hard in class, you should have plenty of time to get this done and turned in. If you get this done, you're going to submit it into Schoology, pull it from your Google Drive, and then you can get started on the Kahoot challenge that is also going to be homework for Wednesday. Also, don't forget that there is a Makeup Socratic seminar on Wednesday. That is the last opportunity that you will have to participate in discussion for Socratic seminar. If you also want to make corrections to your questions and answers and your text annotations, you're welcome to turn those in by Wednesday in Life Ed as well. Okay, so I think I've covered anything. I will put a link to a GoFormative exit ticket. So if you've got questions about the project, you can submit those, and then I will get to those and answer those on Wednesday when I see you guys next. Okay, have a great day. Be good for the sub. See you soon.